All right, this is why we're talking about mnemonics right now, okay? And why I really don't like mnemonics. But here's a really amazing mnemonic that is very commonly told even to Japanese children, okay? So you have oya, which means parent. And it's made up of standing, tree, and look. That makes a lot of sense. You can make a story out of that. A parent is someone who stands up high in a tree and looks at their children. You can remember that, and then you can remember how to build the kanji that way. Standing in a tree watching is a parent. I like that. But if you open up this book to another random one, okay, and we have ra here, okay, and you look at that, it's some sort of animal with a line across his head and a line going like that. You're supposed to remember ra as in robber. That's what you're supposed to remember. That is really not an intelligent mnemonic. I really don't think it's done well. Now, are there some good ones in here? Probably. I mean, look at this one. Oh my, just look at this one. Look at this one for soul. This book, by the way, sells a ton of books. It's got 337 positive reviews. People love this book. I don't love this book because of the mnemonics. Look at this. Look at this one. This one right here. Okay? It's so, as in so. And here's a kid goat got into a fight after school and he got an eye knocked out. The next day when other kids, goats, pointed and said, "You've only got one eye," he said, "So?" Are you kidding me? Who comes up with that? Seriously, that is an overreach. That is trying way too hard. That's like, well, we've made a book and every page has to have a mnemonic, so let's just come up with one. Literally, I could just write the so on my phone. This is exactly the equivalent. I wrote the so on my phone and I go, "Oh, you have an Android. iPhones are better than Android. So?" How does that make me remember? See, that's the problem with the author of a book forcing a mnemonic down your throat. You're going to try to make that work. Whereas the obvious ones, like a parent standing in a tree watching their child, that one should be given to you because maybe you didn't see it right away, right? That one helps. Like me looking like an eye, he looking like the sun. Those are all great, right? Those are great. Like that book. I have another book here. You know what? Oh, here it is. There's another book, which I'll talk about. Give me a second. This book right here, okay? Chinesey. Now, let's talk about Chinesey. Okay, so this lady did a TED Talk on kanji, okay? On the Chinese characters. And man, did she upset me. I mean, nice, I'm sure she's a nice lady, but the way she was teaching it was like, we make it easy. See, as you see, she didn't say it wasn't mnemonics. It was about how each character is a story. And then she shows like tree, right? And then 2 trees, you see, makes woods. And 3 trees makes a forest. This is actually a very, very good thing. This is a really good thing. We even talk about it in our book. But she made it look like she invented it. Like she came up with that. When literally that is what Chinese characters were supposed to be. They're supposed to be mnemonics. But what does this book do? By the way, beautiful book. This is an absolutely beautiful book. I mean, it's great. And you probably will get something out of it. But you know what? You know what she does in this book? Or he does, or whoever made this book does? They mix traditional characters and simplified characters. They're not even consistent in what they're teaching. It's whatever they could come up with that would match their narrative of teaching you. Because the reality is, and I don't have exact numbers, but I'm going to tell you right now, maybe 20% of the Chinese characters you can look at and figure out what they mean. Like if you understood how they work. If you could get 20%, I'd be amazed. Most of them have literally zero connection. Like you look at it and you go, I have no idea. And that's what I talk about. I talk about that in here. I say, look at these radicals. And look at how the radical, you're supposed to know that this is the fish radical. And if you add fish radical with this, you're supposed to understand that that's a mud flapper, or whatever. But you don't, because the connections are often not sensical. Often the connections are, oh, it sounds that way, so we'll just use the radical that sounds that way. Has nothing to do with water, has nothing to do with a tree, has nothing to do with whatever radical they use. It just sounded that way. It sounded right. Because Chinese doesn't have a phonetic system. So they have to put things together. So they'll say, well, for example, take America, right? Right? 美国, 美国. Okay? Now, 美国in Chinese is written as beautiful country. Why? Because they think America's beautiful? No. Because America, America, me, and guo meaning country. But in Japan, it's Beikoku. Now we know it as America, right, when we learn Japanese, but it's Beikoku. Why is it Beikoku? By the way, in Japanese, that's rice country. Because koku means country in Japanese, and bei, America, bei. Its sound only has nothing to do with anything, right? So I never used to think this hard about it. I never used to be this aggressive about it. But I'm really kind of against the forced mnemonics. I love mnemonics. They are great. But a lot of times the things that I do to remember a kanji are completely not mnemonical. For example, tojiru and akeru. Tojiru and akeru, if you look at those kanji, tojiru and aku, they both have a gate, right? They have the mon, and then they have a little picnic table inside one for open, and then they have the o, the katakana o inside one. My way of remembering that is completely wacky. I remember it because tojiru has an o in it, which does not, which would be the first o in open, but tojiru is close. I use the opposite logic to remember that. And then I remember akeru because it's not open, even though akeru means open. So you see, the logic that whoever made in these type books where they give you the mnemonic, 9 times out of 10 might not work for you. That's why I don't like putting it in our books. Only the very, very obvious ones. So that's how I feel about mnemonics, and that's how I feel about quickly learning 400 essential characters. And we're just going to mix. We're going to mix simplified and traditional kanji, which are characters which are never mixed, right? They're not mixed. That's my understanding. That's what I saw when I looked at the book. I might be wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Because you know what, I'm human and I have strong opinions, and my opinions come from the fact that I have success, and maybe the successful people that made this book. And by the way, I want to say again, when I first saw this book, wow, it is, look at it. It comes with this little thing. It is so beautiful, and it's got this raised cover here. I mean, this is a piece of artwork, and only for $24.99. I mean, and look at the work, the level of work that they did in this book is amazing. But for me, just learning the characters quicker than the mnemonics. So, and by the way, also a very beautiful book. Comes with a CD. It does teach you hiragana and katakana. They do have a lot of excellent words. So I don't want to trash this book completely. It's an excellent book. They teach you a lot of stuff in this book beyond hiragana and katakana. And I like it. I just don't like the mnemonics of this book. So would I say don't buy this book? No. Would I say buy my book instead? Maybe. But my book is a different style of book. So I would be disingenuous if I said don't buy that book. Or even don't buy this book. Because you know what? Any source that you get your language from is good. Any source. As long as you know that you should look at more than one source. All right. That's that for that section.